I'm going to go to the Arizona Cardinals for my first guy, and I want to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think that he's going to be
Are we ready for this?
I think he's going to be a hot bug. Yeah, he's trash. It's bad. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. He's just bad. No, he's not. But look, he played 36 snaps, which is actually the most on the team that we saw this past week. But we've got a metric at PFF. We call it threat. It's essentially wide receiver usage. How often are you targeted per route that you run? And so, a lot of teams, their wide receivers one could be anywhere like mid-20s, something like that. If you get CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill, you're probably talking about like low 30s, something like that. Marvin Harrison Jr. played the most receiving snaps on the team, 36. 8.3 threat. I mean, that should, they weren't even throwing him the football. 45.3 receiving grade. He only had 3 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. He had a drop as well. Going back and watching all 36 of these receiving snaps, there are times when he is open, much more so against zone than against man coverage, because I will say this, he struggled to separate. Whether it was in press coverage at the line of scrimmage or at the break point of his route, when defenders got hands on him, the only time that he really separated, there was one rep where he had clear separation. It was basically OPI. If they would have thrown him the football, it would have been OPI that the arms were fully extended. He pushed off the defender. He just was not really able to create separation after getting bumped, again, whether it was at the beginning of the route or at the break point of the route. So that was a little bit worrisome and why they didn't throw him the football, I'm sure. But also the fact that I just don't think that him and Kyler have really great chemistry right now. There are times when he could have thrown the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., but he didn't even really look his way. He's just not really trusting the rookie at all whatsoever right now, and I wonder if that's a practice thing. That's something that could be better, but there was more meat on the bone for Harrison this past week, but it wasn't this wow, we now have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL right out of the gate kind of thing, especially against man coverage for him. And I think that reflects in his grades, even with some low production. There just was not a high separation score there for him. And I think that that's something that could absolutely come with him. I still think he's a good player, but he struggled in that area for sure, and I think that Kyler Murray just didn't trust him because I don't know if he trusts the separation that Marvin Harrison is getting versus NFL defenders in practice versus and also, I should say, in addition to what we saw in Game 1 against the Bills.
This is going to be one of the more interesting cases to track this season because there's a lot of questions about the Cardinals in general. And Marvin Harrison Jr. was basically billed as, and I mean, I was part of this. I'm sure you were as well from listening to your draft stuff as part of the group of people that were like, yeah, he's a sure thing. He's a certain thing as he gets to the NFL. And no prospect is, we know that. And obviously it's only 1 week. I think he just doesn't look as fast or as explosive in the NFL as I thought he would right now. It's early, could be a lot of mental stuff early on, could be playing slower. I still think his ball skills are going to be awesome. I still think he's going to be such a good player, but I do think that's been noticeable. And so the fact that you say that and the numbers kind of back that up, not that surprising to me based on what I've seen. I don't think he looks quite as explosive as I expected him to. Having said that, there are lots of ways to win in this position at this position in the NFL. I mean, there are lots of really good tier 1 wideouts that with speed was not their number one trait, and quickness was not their number one traits. Mm-hmm. And so there's plenty of ways for him to win. It kind of goes back to our quarterbacks conversation, doesn't it? How do they use him in a way that it fits best with not only the offense and his skill set, but honestly, probably the biggest part of it is with Kyler Murray and how Kyler likes to play. And I think that has been one of the struggles, right, with Kyler Murray in the NFL. When so much of an offense is built on what does your quarterback like to do? What can he do consistently well? You can criticize the Bengals, especially for the other day, and even at times over the years, but there's no doubt the Bengals do what Joe Burrow likes to do, what he's comfortable with, and he has a very clearly defined skill set. The question for him now is if he can expand outside of that. I think the struggle with some of these other offenses is how do we build a consistent approach around our quarterback? And for Kyler Murray, that's been a question. As long as that's a question for the quarterback, it will affect the other players on the team, I think, especially from a consistency perspective. And I think Harrison fits in that boat.
Yeah, and look, even if Harrison isn't somebody who was going to be a blazer, which I didn't think that was a particular part of his game. I thought he was a good athlete. I didn't think he was going to be this crazy athlete for the NFL level. We have seen Kyler have success with like a contested catch monster type of receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, right? And so I don't know if it's, to say that he's going to for sure become DeAndre Hopkins would be silly, but
that's who came to my mind watching him, though. Like seeing his NFL movements, I was like, this might be more in line.
But in order to unlock that, Kyler's got to trust you, and I don't think you trust him right now. So that's going to take a little bit of time. I think the lack of maybe game speed also shows up in the dropped pass from him, right? It's just new. He's going to get more confident. He's going to get better. There was some meat on the bone even this past week, but it is something that is worth noting. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to be a little bit more of a contested catch receiver than we thought? And it's okay if that's the case, because I think he could be a damn good one, but that's a good development to keep watching moving forward.